Hello, everyone, and welcome. If you have been struggling, if you feel stuck, if you are tired of not improving, then this video is for you. By the time you finish watching, you will no longer feel lost. You will have a clear, powerful, and easy-to-follow method that will take your English to the next level. I promise you, if you follow what I tell you today, you will never struggle with English again. This is not about boring grammar rules. This is not about memorizing thousands of words. This is about learning English, the smart way, the easy way, and the way that actually works. So stay with me till the end, because every second of this video is going to be powerful and valuable. Now, let's get started. Stop translating in your head. Let's start with one of the biggest mistakes English learners make: translating everything in their head. If you are always thinking in your native language and then translating into English, you will always feel slow, stuck, and unsure. This is why you might hesitate when speaking. This is why English doesn't feel natural. But here's the secret. You don't need to translate to understand. You need to train your brain to think in English directly. How do you do that? You start with simple things. When you wake up in the morning, don't say, "I need to brush my teeth" in your native language. Instead, just say it in English. Look at your toothbrush and say, "I'm brushing my teeth." When you make coffee, say, "I'm making coffee." When you go outside, say, "It's a beautiful day." At first, this will feel strange, but after a few days, you will notice something amazing. You will automatically start thinking in English without even trying. Why is this so important? Because once you stop translating, you will speak faster, more confidently, and more naturally. Your brain will process English the same way native speakers do, without stopping, without overthinking, and without fear. Focus on phrases, not just words. Another huge mistake people make when learning English is memorizing individual words. If you only learn words one by one, you will always struggle to form sentences. You might know the words, but you won't know how to use them correctly. Think about how babies learn language. They don't memorize individual words. They learn chunks of language. Instead of learning the word water, they learn, "Can I have some water?" Instead of just "hello," they learn, "Hey, how's it going?" And that's exactly what you need to do. Instead of memorizing hundreds of separate words, start learning useful phrases that you can use in real life. For example, instead of learning the word appointment, learn, "I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow," or "Can I schedule an appointment?" Instead of just learning hungry, learn, "I'm starving. Let's grab something to eat." When you focus on phrases, something amazing happens. You start speaking naturally without struggling to put words together. You will sound more fluent, more confident, and more like a native speaker. Read aloud every day. This tip is a game changer. If you struggle with speaking English, you need to start reading aloud every single day. Here's why. When you read out loud, you are training your mouth, your tongue, and your brain to get used to English. You are building muscle memory. Think about it. When you hear a native speaker talk, they speak fast, smoothly, and naturally. but when you try, it feels slow and unnatural. That's because your mouth is not used to the movements of English. But when you read aloud, you are practicing those movements every day. How should you do it? Pick any book, article, or even a short paragraph. Read it out loud slowly and clearly. Focus on pronunciation and rhythm. Do it for at least 10 minutes every day. At first, it might feel strange, but after a few days, you will notice a huge difference. Your tongue will get used to English sounds, your pronunciation will improve, and your fluency will increase. And the best part? This is one of the fastest ways to train your brain to speak English smoothly. The power of active listening. Listening is passive. They believe if they just hear English every day, they will magically start speaking fluently. But that's not true. There's a huge difference between passive listening and active listening. Passive listening is when you play English in the background while doing other things. Maybe you're listening to an English podcast while cooking or watching a movie without really paying attention. Active listening is when you are 100% focused on what you are hearing. This is the real secret to improving your English listening skills. How can you practice active listening? Follow these 3 simple steps. Step 1. Choose the right material. Pick something just slightly above your level. If it's too easy, you won't learn. If it's too difficult, you'll get frustrated. A great place to start is simple podcasts, slow news, or beginner-friendly audiobooks. Step 2. Listen in short sections and repeat. Instead of listening to one long hour of English, take a short section, maybe 1 minute, and listen to it multiple times. First, listen once without subtitles. Just try to understand the general meaning. Second, listen again and try to catch new words. Third, listen one more time and repeat the sentences out loud to copy the pronunciation. Step 3. Write down and use new phrases. Every time you hear a useful phrase, write it down. For example, if you hear, "It's been a long time," write it in your notebook and use it in your daily life. If you hear, "That sounds interesting," say it when talking to someone. This way, you learn phrases naturally and don't just memorize random words. When you do this every day for 10 to 15 minutes, you will train your ears to understand fast English, and your brain will automatically start thinking in English. The shadowing technique. Do you want to speak English smoothly, confidently, and without hesitation? Then you need to try the shadowing technique. This is one of the best techniques ever because it forces you to speak faster, more naturally, and without translating. Here's how you do it. Choose a short audio clip, 30 seconds to 1 minute. It can be from a podcast, TV show, YouTube video, or audiobook. Play the audio and repeat what you hear at the same time. Try to match the speaker's speed, tone, and pronunciation. At first, this will be challenging. You will feel like you can't keep up, but don't stop. The more you do it, the faster your brain will process English. After a few weeks, you will notice that when you speak, words come out naturally, and your pronunciation is much clearer. Stop studying grammar. The traditional way. Grammar is important, but the way most people learn it is completely wrong. If you spend all your time memorizing grammar rules and doing exercises, you will always struggle to speak fluently. Think about it. When native speakers talk, they don't think about grammar rules. They don't stop to ask, should I use past perfect or past simple? Is this the right preposition? They just speak naturally. So, what's the right way to learn grammar? You need to learn grammar in context. Instead of memorizing rules, observe how grammar is used in real conversations. For example, if you're watching a movie and hear, "I've been waiting for you," instead of thinking, "Oh, this is present perfect continuous tense," just understand the meaning. How do you practice this? Read stories, articles, and dialogues. Notice how grammar is used naturally. Instead of doing grammar exercises, write short daily journal entries. This way you use grammar instead of just studying it. Practice speaking and don't be afraid of mistakes. Your grammar will improve naturally over time. If you follow this, you will learn grammar the way native speakers do, without stress, without memorization, and without hesitation. The 80-20 rule of English learning. This is one of the most powerful rules that will change the way you study English forever. The 80-20 rule means that 80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts. In English learning, this means you don't need to learn everything. You just need to focus on the most useful things. Here's how to apply it. Focus on the most common words and phrases. You don't need to know every word in the dictionary. Learn the 2,000 most common words because these words make up 80% of spoken English practice. Real-life English, not textbook English. Don't waste time on old-fashioned, formal sentences that nobody actually uses. Focus on phrases, idioms, and expressions used in daily life. Spend more time speaking and listening and less time on theory. Instead of studying English for hours, spend more time actually using English, speaking, listening, and writing. When you use the 80-20 rule, you will improve much faster. Learn only what really matters and stop wasting time on things that don't help. Talk to yourself in English. This is one of the best ways to practice speaking, even if you have no one to talk to. Just talk to yourself in English throughout the day. For example, when you wake up, say, "Today is going to be a great day." When cooking, say, "I'm making pasta. It smells so good." When walking outside, say, "The weather is nice today. I love the fresh air." At first, this may feel strange, but it will train your brain to think in English automatically. And the best part? You don't need a partner. You can practice anytime, anywhere. If you do this every day, you will become so comfortable with English that speaking will feel completely natural. The describe your day method. One of the biggest mistakes English learners make is only practicing English when they are studying. But here's the truth. English should be part of your daily life, not just something you study for 1 hour a day. And the best way to do this? Describe your day in English, out loud or in writing. This method is so powerful because It forces you to think in English. It improves your vocabulary for everyday situations. It helps you practice without needing a partner. How do you do it? Step 1. Talk about your day. Even if you're alone, just speak out loud to yourself. For example, as soon as you wake up, say, "I just woke up." "I feel a little tired, but I have a lot to do today." When making coffee, say, "I'm making coffee now." "It smells so good. I love starting my day with coffee." If you do this every single day, your brain will start thinking in English naturally. Step 2. Write a daily journal in English. At the end of the day, take 5 to 10 minutes and write about your day in a simple notebook or on your phone. For example, today was a busy day. I went to work in the morning and had an important meeting. In the evening, I watched a movie with my family. At first, you might make mistakes, but don't worry. The goal is to express yourself, not to be perfect. Step 3. Add more details every day. When you feel comfortable, start adding more details. Instead of just writing, "I went shopping today," write, "I went shopping today and bought a new pair of shoes. They were a little expensive, but I really liked them. The store was very crowded, and I had to wait in line for a long time." Why is this so powerful? Because you are using English to talk about your own life. This makes learning much more natural and effective than just studying random words and grammar rules. If you do this every day, you will see huge improvements in your vocabulary, confidence, and fluency. The question and answer trick. Have you ever had a conversation in English and suddenly didn't know what to say next? This happens to most learners. They know some English, but struggle to continue conversations. Here's how it works. Every time you say something, add a question at the end. For example, instead of just saying, "I love traveling," say, "I love traveling." What about you? Have you traveled anywhere recently? This keeps the conversation flowing smoothly. Practice by answering common questions. Another way to use this trick is to practice answering questions in detail. For example, instead of just saying, "I work as a teacher," say, "I work as a teacher." I teach English to high school students, and I really enjoy it. I started teaching 5 years ago, and it has been an amazing experience. Why does this work? It trains your brain to give longer, more natural answers. It helps you never feel stuck in a conversation. Try practicing this every day. Think of a question, answer it in detail, and then add another question. After a few weeks, you will notice that your conversations in English become longer, more interesting, and completely natural. The copy and transform method. Most people try to learn English by memorizing sentences, but this is not the best way. A better way is to copy and transform. What does this mean? It means you listen to real English sentences and then change them slightly to fit your own life. Step 1. Find a sentence to copy. For example, let's say you hear this sentence in a movie, "I had a great weekend. I went to the beach with my friends." Step 2. Transform it to fit your own life now. Instead of memorizing it, change it slightly to talk about yourself. "I had a great weekend. I went to the park with my family." By doing this, you learn real English naturally, instead of just memorizing random phrases. Step 3. Repeat this every day. Every time you learn a new sentence, change it and use it in your own life. This will help you learn real, useful English instead of unnatural textbook phrases. Speak faster and more fluently without thinking too much. If you do this every single day, your English will improve faster than you ever imagined. Learn English through emotions. Have you ever noticed that you never forget emotional experiences? For example, you might forget what you studied last week, but you never forget a funny joke or an emotional story. This is because our brain remembers things better when emotions are involved. So instead of learning English in a boring way, make it emotional. Step 1. Watch movies or TV shows with emotional scenes. If a scene is funny, laugh. If a scene is sad, feel it. If a scene is exciting, enjoy the moment. When you connect emotions with English, you will remember new words instantly. Step 2. Use stories instead of word lists, instead of memorizing words like this. Happy, excited, sad. Learn them in a sentence with emotion. I was so excited when I got my dream job. She was so happy when she saw her best friend after 5 years. By doing this, you will never forget words again. Speaking. The key to fluency: you will never become fluent if you always translate in your head. The key to fluency is to think directly in English. Instead of translating, describe things in English. If you don't know a word, don't translate it into your native language. Instead, describe it in English. For example, if you forget the word pillow, say, "It's something soft that I sleep on." This forces your brain to think in English instead of translating. Throughout the day, talk to yourself in English. Describe things and try to express thoughts without translating. If you do this daily, you will start thinking in English naturally and speak fluently without hesitation. Master the art of paraphrasing. One of the biggest signs of fluency is the ability to express the same idea in multiple ways. Think about native speakers. They rarely repeat the exact same sentence every time they speak. Instead, they paraphrase, meaning they use different words to say the same thing. This is an incredibly powerful skill because it allows you to communicate even when you don't know the exact word. It makes you sound more fluent, more confident, and more natural. How do you practice this? Let's take a simple sentence. I am very tired. Instead of always saying this, you can say, I'm exhausted. I feel drained. I'm completely worn out. I could fall asleep right now. By practicing this technique, you won't feel stuck searching for the perfect words. You'll develop the ability to explain things in different ways, which is a key skill of fluent speakers. A simple way to practice is by taking any sentence and challenging yourself to say it in at least 3 different ways. Another great method is to listen to native speakers and notice how they express the same ideas in different ways. If you do this every day, your ability to paraphrase will improve, and you'll feel much more confident in conversations. Learn to pause. Naturally, Most English learners believe that speaking fluently means speaking quickly without stopping. But in reality, even native speakers pause while speaking. These pauses are important because they help you think before you speak, organize your thoughts, reduce mistakes. When you try to speak too fast, you end up making more errors and feeling nervous. But if you learn to pause naturally, you will sound more confident, more relaxed, more fluent. How can you practice this? Listen to native speakers, especially in interviews and speeches. Notice how they pause at natural points in a sentence. For example, instead of saying, "I went to the store, bought some bread and milk, then I came home and watched a movie," they would say it like this: "I went to the store, bought some bread and milk, then I came home and watched a movie." The key is to pause at the right places, not in the middle of words or unnatural spots. Practice reading. A loud mark places where you should pause. Record yourself speaking. Then listen to it. Ask yourself, do I sound rushed? Do I sound natural? Do my pauses make sense? When you master this skill, you will immediately sound more fluent and professional, even if your vocabulary is limited. Use speaking frames to build automatic fluency. A big reason why many learners struggle with speaking is that they don't have pre-built structures in their minds. Native speakers don't think about every single word while speaking. Instead, they use automatic patterns called speaking frames. When you have these frames ready in your mind, you can speak smoothly without hesitation. For example, instead of struggling to form sentences in a conversation, you can rely on frames like, "That reminds me of," to connect an idea. "To be honest, I think," to express an opinion, "the way I see it," to give a perspective. "I've never thought about it before, but," to answer difficult questions. One of the best things about to describe something positively. Let's say someone asks, "What do you think about social media?" Instead of searching for words, you can use a speaking frame. "To be honest, I think social media is useful, but it also has some negative effects." This makes your answer automatic and natural, and you don't waste time struggling for words. How can you learn these frames? Listen to native speakers. Write down common sentence patterns. Practice them in your daily conversations. Over time, they will become a part of your natural speaking style, and you will sound much more fluent without even thinking. Create a mental image for every word. One of the biggest problems with learning new vocabulary is forgetting words after a few days. This happens because most learners try to remember words by only reading or writing them. But the brain doesn't work that way. The brain remembers things better when they are connected to a strong image or experience. This is why creating mental images for every word is one of the most powerful techniques. How to remember vocabulary permanently. For example, let's say you're learning the word gigantic, which means very big. Instead of just writing gigantic equals very big in your notebook, create a strong image in your mind. Imagine a gigantic elephant standing in the middle of a small room, breaking everything around it. The crazier and more fun the image, the more you will remember it. The same technique works for abstract words. For example, if you're learning motivation, imagine yourself standing on a stage, giving an inspiring speech, with thousands of people clapping for you. How to practice this? Take a list of words you want to learn and create a strong mental image for each one. Draw small pictures in your notebook. Describe the image out loud. If you do this consistently, you will never struggle to remember new words again. Your vocabulary will grow naturally, and learning English will become fun and effective. Learn by explaining. One of the fastest ways to master English is not just to learn new things, but to explain them to someone else. When you teach something, you force yourself to organize the information clearly, making it easier to remember. The best part? You don't need an actual student. You can teach yourself, teach a friend, teach an imaginary person how to practice. For example, after learning a new grammar rule, instead of just moving on to the next topic, stop and explain it in your own words. If you just learned about the difference between since and for, don't just say, since is for a point in time and for is for a duration. Instead, explain it like this. We use since when we talk about when something started, like I have lived here since 2020. But we use for when we talk about how long something has happened, like I have lived here for 3 years. You can also record yourself explaining concepts, write explanations in a notebook, join online communities or study groups to help other learners. The more you teach and explain, the better you will understand English yourself. This method makes learning more interactive, fun, and effective. Use the power of storytelling. Most people try to learn English by memorizing lists of words and grammar rules, but the human brain doesn't learn best through lists. The brain learns best through stories. Think about it. When you hear an interesting story, you remember it for years. But when you memorize a list of vocabulary words, you forget them in days. That's why storytelling is one of the most powerful methods to learn and remember English. How can you use storytelling to improve your English? Connect new words to a personal story. Instead of just memorizing the word adventure, create a short story in your mind. Last summer, I went on an adventure with my best friend. We climbed a mountain and got lost in the forest. When you attach emotions and experiences to words, they become unforgettable. Practice. Telling short stories in English. Every night, try to tell yourself a quick story about your day. Even something simple like, today I woke up late, but I still managed to get to work on time. My boss was happy with my work, so I felt really good. This helps you practice past tense, sentence structure, and fluency at the same time. Listen to English stories every day, whether it's audiobooks, podcasts, short stories on YouTube. Exposing yourself to English storytelling will improve your listening skills, vocabulary, and pronunciation naturally. The more stories you hear, the more natural English will feel to you. This method makes learning English fun, engaging, and incredibly effective. Be consistent. Most people believe that learning English fast means studying for hours every day. But the truth is, Consistency is more important than intensity. Studying for 10 minutes every day is more effective than studying for 5 hours once a week. Why? Because the brain learns best with small, regular practice over time. Think of learning English like exercising. If you go to the gym once a month and lift heavy weights for 5 hours, you won't get strong. But if you exercise for 30 minutes every day, you will become fit over time. The same rule applies to learning English. How to stay consistent. Make a simple, daily English routine. Morning. Listen to a short English podcast while drinking coffee. Afternoon. Read one page of an English book or article. Evening. Practice speaking for 5 minutes using a mirror or shadowing. This daily habit takes less than 30 minutes, but if you do it every single day, your English will improve dramatically in just a few months. The key is to make learning English a normal part of your life, so it never feels like work. If you stay consistent, fluency will come naturally. How to stay motivated. Many learners start learning English with excitement, but after a few months, they lose motivation. The secret to long-term fluency is making English a natural and enjoyable part of your life. How to stay motivated. Find a reason that excites you. Why do you want to learn English? For travel? For work? For friendships? For personal growth? When you have a strong reason, you will stay committed, even when learning feels hard. Make English fun. Don't just study textbooks. Make English part of your entertainment. Watch movies, listen to music, play word games, follow interesting content in English. When learning is enjoyable, you will never feel bored or tired. Track your progress. Many people quit because they don't see improvement, but real progress happens slowly. Keep a journal of new words you learn. Record yourself speaking every month. Celebrate small victories. Seeing how far you've come will keep you motivated. Never stop learning. English fluency is not a destination. It's a journey. Even native speakers continue learning new words and improving their skills. Enjoy the process, keep practicing, and one day you will speak English fluently, confidently, and effortlessly.